Welcome back to another episode of Balance Your Wealth. This week, we're going to do another segment of the Overrated, Underrated series since we had so much fun with this last time. So this week, I am joined by Bob, Tyler, Nick, Adam, and Nora. We're going to get it kicked off with a fun one here. It was Adam's idea as we were scrambling to get ready for this episode. So, overrated, underrated, showing up to meetings prepared. Adam, what do you think?
Well, probably the best answer is it depends on who it is, right? If it's the boss man that shows up late, everybody kind of accepts it. But if it's an underling, you better be on time. You know, coming from the military background, it's always important to be on time. 5 minutes early is on time. So I would say it is definitely underrated showing up on time.
Yeah, I feel you there, Adam. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to just call it overrated. Not because I think it's not important to be ready for a meeting and ready to go, but for what we're doing here this morning, I think that it's important to have a little bit of flexibility and not have everything so structured and on military time going through this, right? We want to have a little bit of fun, a little bit of open and creativity. So for this specific purpose, I'm going overrated.
I'll touch on overrated for me. I'm a procrastinator, so I work well under pressure. So when that meeting's coming up, that 30 minutes before is where some real work gets done. So overrated for me.
I agree with Adam, underrated. I come from a lot of military in my family, so in sports too, and you always kind of hear, early's on time and on time is late. So that's kind of the modem, the kind of the mantra that I've always lived by.
Yeah, what is it? The saying it's winning is where preparation meets opportunity or something like that, right? So that's I'm usually pretty good. I'd say usually I think that's it's underrated to be prepared, but also I think, if I'm the most prepared, then everybody else in the meeting with me can chill. So, that's good.
I'm going to jump in on this one too. I'll get on Tyler's side here. Overrated. As a lifelong procrastinator, I've tried to design my life around not having to be places on time. So as you can tell, I'm not very good at that. So I'm going to go with overrated as well. Next one we're going to jump into here. We're going to go a little bit towards the more serious side. We're going to give it to Tyler first here, since he was just bragging about his viral tweet about buying boats and whether it makes sense or not. So luxury buys, buying a boat. Tyler, what do you got? Overrated, underrated?
Oh man, that's tough. Depends on the price, right? Like boat memories are some of the best memories. I grew up on a boat. Like I cherish those. I owned a boat a few years ago. Then we started having kids. It got tough to get out on the boat with little kids, but I eventually want to have another one. So if it's a smart financial decision and not some crazy overspend, I think it's actually underrated to have a boat in your life and your family's life. Now, if we're talking, hey, I'm buying a $500,000 wake boat, like, come on, man, you can get a $50,000 boat that does the same thing. So again, there's levels to it, but I'm a big boat fan.
I'm going the opposite way here. I am not a big water guy, right? So I'm going way overrated on boat purchases. I personally think that money can be better spent in other places. That's the beauty of the work that we do, though, guys, right? Like, it's not my decision for what somebody else does with their money if they're being smart about it. But me personally, boat is probably the last luxury item I would buy, even if I had Elon Musk money.
Coming from Florida, Tyler, they say the second best day of owning a boat is the day you buy it. And the best day owning the boat is the day you get rid of it. So I definitely think it's overrated having a boat, looking at all the costs that you put into it and storage. So the move is definitely, if it's financial move, wait till your friend gets one. So we'll just wait until Tyler gets his boat, and then we'll all pony up with him.
Yes. Underrated having friends with boats. I second that, Adam. Yeah.
I guess I'm on the hook now then. The
Yeah,
balance boat.
you are.
Awesome. Sounds like you're the token boat guy, Tyler. So you better get on top of buying one here. Next one, we're gonna stay on the vein of luxuries and vacation type stuff. So timeshares, overrated, underrated. Whoever wants to take that one, jump in.
Well, I'll go ahead and take that first. Even though they get all the bad press out there, you hear about timeshares, people coming in and being pressured into buying something and promising they'll never purchase. I'm still going with that timeshares are overrated, right? Like they are just this entrapment to get into what sounds like a really good investment opportunity or vacation opportunity, and they just never pan out the way. I can't tell you how many people have timeshares and they're like, oh, we never use them. Oh, we got swindled into them. All this stuff. Like, they are overrated, and I have never heard anybody have a great experience with having purchased a timeshare.
All right, counterpoint, underrated, because the one person who I know that actually enjoys timeshares, so that they like it because it forces them to actually take a break and go on vacation because they don't want their days or nights or whatever to expire. So the fact that we could probably all use an extra, few days of vacation per year, and if that's an excuse to make it happen, then I guess I'll take the other side of that.
Yeah, I don't know, but from a time standpoint, I feel like I want to take a vacation when I want to take a vacation, and timeshares are usually saying you can go October 20th to the 30th. Like, I'm not going to, and the last thing I want to do when I'm on vacation with my family is to sit 2-3 hours in an office, talking about what the opportunities could be or what I'm missing out on. So I think timeshares are completely overrated. It just seems like kind of another sleazy sales tactic. I'm not buying it.
I'm going to throw timeshares in with owning a vacation home, even.
Mm.
A lot of people in that scenario. And when you add up the costs and everything and the stress of having to take care of it, you could take so many trips to all different places and experience all sorts of different things, except you're going to the same spot over and over and over again. So I'm I probably won't ever own a vacation home, but I do love traveling. So I want to be flexible. Can't do that with vacation homes and can't do that with timeshares. So,
Yep.
overrated.
Nice. All right, moving on. Look, something a little more serious here. Overrated, underrated HSAs. You want to go ahead and get us kicked off on that one, Nora?
Yeah, I love HSAs. We've talked about them a lot. Triple tax advantage, health savings accounts. If in your financial plan that you've, have an emergency fund built, that foundation's built, you're matching your 401k, you have Roth IRAs maxed out, and you don't plan on spending any current dollars on medical expenses. So if you're a young, healthy person and you have that in your financial plan to contribute to an HSA and then invest in it, I think, there's very few people at a very young age that can hit all of those milestones. But if you can get there and max that out, and when in retirement, you take it out for medical expenses, you never owe taxes on it. Extremely powerful. I'm a huge proponent of HSA.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, they are underrated. They are not often utilized enough. And what a lot of people do is they will contribute to an HSA, but then they'll just take out, little amounts here and there to pay for small, co-pays or medical expenses or whatever. And I think that if people understood the long-term benefit of being able to invest those dollars and build that wealth up where it can be tax-free, I think the use of them is way underrated. So, I'm with you, Nora. Even though we talk a lot about how great they are, I still think they're underrated.
All right, they're overrated. I think it's all right. HSAs, health insurance in general, feels really overrated right now. We pay so much money to get such a little coverage versus if you just put that money into a taxable brokerage account and then did cash pay or self pay, you're probably not that much worse off, honestly, like when it all shakes out. Maybe less restrictions. And if you don't have the big medical event, then you can use those funds for other things without all the other stuff. So that's my counterpoint for that one today.
I don't know. I'm going to have to go underrated, I guess, just against Nick there. I mean, the whole point of insurance is to hedge against the disaster scenario. So it's like, yeah, if the disaster scenario doesn't come, then we'd be fine. So it feels a little bit weird. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. So next one's going to be ChatGPT, overrated or underrated. I'm going to hand it back to Nick because I know Nick is a strong AI user here at Balance Wealth. And I know he's got some mixed feelings about ChatGPT, as he reminds me daily.
Yeah, ChatGPT specifically of all the different AI tools, I think is the most highly overrated one of the bunch. I think there's probably 6 others I can name off the top of my head that do as good of a job or better, and don't have all the moral issues associated with it. For the listeners, all right. So we got Grok is amazing from X. That's the the SpaceX actually owns that one now. So that's a SpaceX chatbot. Anthropic's Claude is probably the number one in the world right now as far as like capabilities. And then Gemini, I use that one probably as much as Grok for different things. So it's they're all really good. But ChatGPT's bottom tier and somehow still the most highly valued of the bunch. I'm like, how is this happening? What's going on here?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with underrated for ChatGPT, right? I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I will tell you that her friends, school level kids these days are utilizing ChatGPT more than anything, just as their new Google, right? It's their new Google search. So it may be that's why it's just the average user, right? Not the power user like Nick, but the average user is using ChatGPT more than some of the other ones. And I see it in my daily life just for my kids and my family. And so I'm going with underrated.
I'm going to go with overrated for one reason and one reason only, and I'll get to that here in a second. But I found out using Grok and ChatGPT and all these different platforms, I'm a much better writer than I was before. Which is interesting. However, I'm going to go overrated because you shouldn't use it to write a love letter to your wife on Valentine's Day. That's not appreciated, even though it was well written. I don't think the gesture was taken correct.
Too many M dashes in the love letter, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't outsource that part of your personal life yet, Adam. Got to keep that one retained.
No doubt.
Awesome. Moving on here, we're going to go to 529 college savings plans. Overrated, underrated. You want to get us kicked off on this one, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm gonna go overrated. I like flexibility. So I go, traditional brokerage account, leave the 529s over there. In Ohio, the tax benefits aren't even that great. I might save a few $100s a year from putting into the 529 plan to then get trapped in there, and uh, the assets be unflexible. I want to have assets available to my kids for a new car. Do they want to start a business? They may not go to school. We were just talking about AI. Who knows what's going to happen in 15 years, right? The traditional path may
Mhm.
not even be there, and then what happens to these 529 plans? So yeah, I like to be flexible. So I'm going to say 529 plans overrated.
I agree, Tyler. I think they're overrated. I'm going to take the devil's advocate here. The only reason why I would say they are underrated is if you're in a situation and you already have tuition expenses allocated for in the next year, maybe, do that, next week or something like that, depending on the state you live in. If it makes sense, if it's already allocated, you're already going to spend it to get a tax benefit from it. That's when I would say 529s are a little bit underrated. And then you could just invest, for Ohio, you invest in the 529, take that $4,000 tax deduction, and then pay for tuition with that. For the long run, totally agree, 529's overrated, but in the short term, based on your specific financial situation, the state you live in, could be underrated.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would add to it there, Nora, right, for underrated, because I agree. I think overall they're overrated. I think that tends to be the first thing that when somebody has a kid that they think about a 529, and I think that should be secondary unless you live in a super high either income tax state, or you live in a state that has really good benefits for the 529s. I believe Indiana has like a state tax credit associated with it. And so that can be dollar for dollar more beneficial. So that's the only place they may be underrated is depending on what state you live in. But generally, I'm overrated on them too.
I agree. Generally overrated. Michigan, I think at one point did like that dollar for dollar matching, like from the state going into the 529s, but they don't do that
Mm.
anymore. So, not as exciting. and, but yeah, I mean, I think ESAs where they're more open architecture are great, but the from the investment perspective, the fact that you get like 3 or 4 funds to pick from, and they're all these expensive state decided mutual funds that have been clearly lobbied for, not super exciting. So if they were open architecture, I would say they're underrated. But
Yeah, I agree. Overall, they are overrated. However, if you guys are like me, it kind of going back to Bob's point is, if it's not the parent that's immediately getting involved and wanting to save for college as soon as they have a kid, it's likely the grandparents that want to contribute some way, somehow. And so even though all of what we just said is true, the flexibility for a grandparent to get involved, help out with their grandkids' education, If they don't end up using that education or those funds for education, they could potentially help out in retirement funding as well, with the ability to, after 15 years to roll it into an IRA. So not the greatest option, but it's not terrible either.
Pretty unanimous agreement on that one, is 529s being overrated, which I tend to agree with as well. So we're going to go into another one that might be a little bit more divisive, since the I think general consensus around insurance lately has been beefy only. It's never good. So with this one, we're going to go into long-term care insurance. Does it make sense? Is it an essential tool for your clients as they're planning going into retirement? Bob, you want to take that one to get us started?
Yeah, wow. This is one that has all kinds of complexity to it, but I'm going to go with underrated because I think that too often it gets just pushed to the side and says, hey, I don't want to put money into something that I might not use. And in today's environment, when it comes to long term care, there are a lot of different options out there that are available to cover long term care that were not there 10, 15 years ago. So I think that it's underrated because it gets too quickly swept under the rug as not a viable option. But I think it's important to look at it and understand how it could fit into your financial plan and help offset some of the potential risk of needing that in the future.
I'm going to go ahead and say generally overrated, for the sole reason that the average person doesn't need long-term care for that long. So they never really get the benefit out of what they put in it. Now, we probably all have anecdotal stories of, hey, my grandma used it, she needed it for 5 years. And I think that's what gets people excited about long-term care. But generally, on average, people do not live that long in a nursing home or an end of care facility. So for that reason, I'm going to say overrated.
Say overrated. In 15 years, we're going to have army of robots helping everybody. So healthcare, long-term care costs are going to crater. And so therefore you will not even need this big pile of money because you'll just have your robot taking care of you anyway.
It's a good counterpoint. Once you've got your Optimus robot taking care of you, you'll be fine.
Yeah, they're good.
You got to be able to afford that Optimus robot, right? And, if you have the proper planning in place, that was a mouthful there, right? But if you're doing the right planning and you have different resources set aside that are specific, whether it's for long-term care expenses, future needs, whatever it may be, having different, risk mitigation plans in place is, in my opinion, always going to be a helpful place to be. And then you can pivot as things change.
Well, Optimus robots are only going to be like $25,000, right, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing compared to the long-term care cost. That's like 2 months in a long-term care facility. Awesome. So either plan to buy your Optimus robot to take care of you, or plan for those potential long-term care insurance expenses, depending on what you think the future is going to look like. So with that, we've got time for one more overrated, underrated. We're going to pick one that I know you guys will not be biased about at all. So keep it clean here. It's going to be having a financial advisor. Overrated, underrated. Adam, you want to go ahead and take that one to start?
Well, we're all advisors. It better be underrated, right? No, I mean, maybe going back to the long-term care topic is a good way to start, because even though the products themselves may be overrated, the actual conversation about long-term care is probably underrated. And that all starts with having a solid relationship with your advisor. Yeah, the numbers matter, the math is important. Yes, accounts are supposed to grow, but us as advisors dive way deeper into people's lives and families and situations and help them with everything along the way. So the money piece is one part of it. However, the actual understanding who your client are, what their goals are, how you can help them get to those goals, that's the important piece. And if that's true, which I think we all believe it is, then having an advisor is underrated.
I'm going to go overrated,
Mm.
and only if you are proficient in retirement planning, Social Security optimization, tax planning, Roth conversion strategies, portfolio creation, distribution schedules. If you're proficient in there, you don't need an advisor, but otherwise, probably should use an advisor.
Yeah, good point, Tyler. I think underrated from a standpoint of, when you look at your financial plan, you're not just thinking of investment management, right? A financial advisor needs to be working with your CPA, needs to be working with your maybe estate attorney, or helping you educate on all of those things, so we can all work together to find the best plan for your specific situation, because everyone we talk about has different goals, has different time horizons. And so a financial advisor in partnership with your CPA and your estate attorney can help educate you. And just, we always as financial advisors say, for me, the best feeling is when a client comes to me and say, man, I feel good where I'm at. I don't have to worry about it. Like, isn't that the point of life, right? Go live your life, do the things that you want to do. But to Tyler's point, if you investing is a hobby, if you get some sort of enjoyment out of it, then maybe a financial advisor is not right. But for the majority of people that have kids and want to be traveling and don't want to focus on all these things, to think about maybe 5, 10, 50 years down the road, a financial advisor is completely underrated.
Yeah, I'll just say the only thing I want to add to this that makes it overrated is the title of financial advisor is so broad and generic and vague that it doesn't necessarily capture what I think we try to do here at Balance, right? And this is me being extremely biased. And there are all kinds of great financial planning firms out there that do really great work. But there's also a lot of folks out there that call themselves financial advisors, and all they do is pitch products, right? They pitch annuities or insurance policies, or even long-term care insurance policies, whatever it may be. So making sure you're working with somebody that's covering the needs that you find most important, that's what is underrated. But the term financial advisor, in my opinion, is way overrated just because it's overused and really vague.
Awesome. So everyone was actually pretty even and neutral there. Tyler pointed out that unless you're a retired financial advisor, maybe it's a little underrated. So with that, since I participated a little bit this week, I'm going to go ahead and crown myself the winner, since I've got something to rant about. As we're getting into spring here, I'm sure plenty of people feel my pain back into cutting grass season. So it feels like every 4 days I'm out there cutting grass. I'm obsessing over mulch beds and all the weeds in them. I had some work done last year, so I had to plant some new grass. It grows so much faster than the rest of my grass. It's just a nightmare. I don't think I'm ever going to enjoy cutting grass. Someday I'm going to have to outsource this, maybe to my Optimus robot once Nick buys one for me in 10 years. But I'm already sick of cutting grass, so I can't wait until it just scorches it in the summer and kills it, and I can cut it less. With that, thanks for joining us for another week of Balance Your Wealth, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, everyone.